Now, in high definition, you're watching KFDM 6 News, The Weekend Report, in HD.
You can't call them an accident because someone chose to drink and drive, and that's why all those people are not here.
Southeast Texans who lost a loved one to a drunk driver are uniting, trying to rebuild a life with other survivors. Good evening, I'm Ashley Gaston. Thank you for joining us. Survivors and victims of drunk driving accidents gathered together for a candlelight vigil this evening. Loved ones remembered their sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and even co-workers. 4 Southeast Texans started the ceremony by lighting 4 candles, one for grief, courage, memory, and love. Then dozens of others lit candles in remembrance of their loved ones who died at the hands of someone else who was driving intoxicated. Mothers Against Drunk Driving hosted the 23rd annual Candlelight Vigil at Woodland Baptist Church in Beaumont. Organizers say the holiday season is tough for those who lost their loved ones, and this ceremony is a way to express hope.
It's sadness because of what's missing. It's celebrating what was, and it's sharing with other people who understand that.
Beaumont Police Sergeant Rob Flores was a guest speaker at the vigil. He talked about losing one of his co-workers, Lisa Beaulieu, to a drunk driver and how the department had to bond together to cope with the loss. A young woman died early this morning when she fell from the hood of her boyfriend's Jeep while trying to stop him from driving drunk. A neighbor found the 27-year-old woman lying in the street at about 3:30 this morning in Spring. A medical helicopter rushed her to Memorial Hermann Hospital, but she did not survive. Neighbors told police they heard her begging her boyfriend not to drive because he'd been drinking. Investigators say the boyfriend ignored the girlfriend's pleas and took off while she was clinging to the hood of his Jeep. She fell off and suffered severe head injuries. Police arrested the boyfriend and charged him with a felony, driving while intoxicated. It's a tradition that honors men and women who served our nation decades ago and those who are still serving. The City of China remembered our heroes with a Veterans Day service at the City Park on North Broadway. People who live in China turned out to listen to speeches and pay tribute to veterans from their families and throughout the community.
So many of our cities have forgotten the veterans and what we served for and stood for. And it's time that everybody takes time out and remembers back.
The Ben J. Rogers Regional Visitor Center will host the 4th annual Veterans Day ceremony tomorrow at 11. Now, some Southeast Texans will see some rain tomorrow. Carrie Cooper joins us now with a first look at our forecast. Carrie?
That's right, Ashley. We'll have some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area tomorrow. Just hit and miss throughout the day, but picking up after dark tomorrow night as a strong cold front works in. Right now, very warm and humid tonight, though, 71 degrees with southeast winds off the Gulf of Mexico. We'll talk about that changing forecast in just a few minutes.
Lamar University alumni gathered at the school for their 50th anniversary. KFDM reporter Justin Hinton found one graduate celebrating a little more than 50 years.
That table over there.
The class of 1962 walked into the University Reception Center ready to mingle with classmates. The Golden Brunch Circle allowed the guests of honor to reminisce over school and discuss how much Lamar has changed. But of all the guests, it's easy to see the most change occurred for Concetta Mazzagatti Cloninger, class of 1938.
It was so small when I went to school that we knew everybody. I'm looking around and I don't know that I'd recognize them, but I doubt that there's anyone else from my year because I don't know many people who are in their 90s who still navigate.
The 5'4" theater major got involved with just about everything Lamar offered while graduating with honors. But what made Lamar so special was its proximity to her home. As if destiny brought her to Lamar. She grew up in this neighborhood, walked these streets as a little girl, and as a matter of fact, the house that she grew up in, well, it was right over there.
Well, it's so changed. Where my home was, you had the stadium and all the football things.
That closeness gave her the opportunity to go to college. a similar characteristic she recognizes with the younger generation of Lamar students.
People can go to college and stay at home and get a good education, and I'm very, very happy about that.
Celebrating the Cardinals along with everyone else. In Beaumont, Justin Hinton, KFDM 6 News.
In case you were wondering, Clonay is 92. She turns 93 in December. A 9-year-old Lumberton girl is preparing for her 22nd surgery. Sabria Bauman was born with a rare disease, Klippel-Trenaunay-Weber syndrome, or KTS. KTS causes excess growth of bones, soft tissues, and varicose veins. Today, the community hosted a spaghetti dinner in Lumberton to help raise money to send Sabria to Boston this week. There is no cure for KTS. Doctors will perform another surgery to help minimize the pain of the disease. The family told KFDM News they had a low turnout for the spaghetti dinner. There is an account set up to help Bowman with her medical expenses. If you would like to donate, you can log on to our website at kfdm.com. Southeast Texans and their favorite canine friends united this morning to fight cancer. The canine event for dogs and dog lovers helps the American Cancer Society raise money for research, patient services, and educational programs. The Bark for Life event kicked off at Terrell Park with breakfast, outdoor activities, and competitions like Best Growl and Best Trick. The family event honored and recognized cancer survivors, human and canine, and the caregiving quality of man's best friend.
It's amazing what our little furry friends will do for us. They're fun for us when we want them to be fun, and they're just patient with us when we need them to be patient.
Today's event raised a little less than $3,000. Authorities say they have targeted some of the top generals of the Aryan Brotherhood. The roots are traced back to the prisons across America. That story up next.
Now, in high definition, you're watching KFDM 6 News, The Weekend Report in HD with Ashley Gaston. The latest weather with KFDM meteorologist Carrie Cooper. And sports with Andrew Sherda.
Authorities say they have targeted some of the top generals of the Aryan Brotherhood. It's a white supremacy group that traces its roots to prisons across America. They're among more than 30 people busted in a massive roundup by federal agents. Kevin Reese has the story.
His name is Larry Max Bryan. In prison, they call him Slick. This is his buddy Charles Lee Roberts. In prison, they call him Jive. They might not look it, but they're both considered generals. In the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, the most notorious white supremacist gang born inside the Texas prison system.
A conscious effort was made to go after the worst of the worst.
A team of federal, state, and local authorities announced today the indictment of the worst 4 Aryan Brotherhood generals and 30 more members of the criminal organization.
Today's indictment represents, ladies and gentlemen, a devastating blow to the leadership of ABT.
An indictment several years in the making that charges members of the violent gang with racketeering, drug trafficking, assault, and at least 3 murders. The body of 27-year-old Aaron Wade Otto was found near the Houston Ship Channel 11 years ago. Today, the Harris County Sheriff's Office says this investigation helped them identify 3 Aryan brothers as the suspects. All 3 are in prison.
So this sets an example of what we can achieve in disrupting and dismantling all kinds of organized crime that are attacking our communities.
Of the 34 alleged gang members in the indictment, only 3 were not in custody earlier this afternoon. The faces of these 3 are headed for electronic billboards across the state. Christopher Morris, Stephen Mullen, and Billy Weathered. Members of a gang that authorities are trying to dismantle both inside and outside of prison.
You've heard people talking about in order to kill a snake, you got to cut its head off. That's what this team has done.
And some big changes in the weather starting tomorrow.
Yeah, it's been warm the last couple of days. It's pretty windy and warm tomorrow. One more day, then a strong cold front comes in tomorrow night after dark. So we'll be dealing with a chance of rain overnight tomorrow night, some colder weather by Monday. We'll talk about it up next.
Now, KFDM meteorologist Carrie Cooper with the latest weather in HD.
Well, very warm and humid across the area tonight. Temperatures running in the 70s area-wide, and we're not going to drop much more tonight due to the southerly winds off the Gulf of Mexico. 73 degrees at our Weather on the Water station. Now let's take a look across the region. It's been pretty quiet across east and southeast Texas. Some low-level moisture coming in off the Gulf. Of course, the latest cold front well to our south in the Gulf, so we've had southerly winds the last couple of days warming us up. Have some high clouds working across the region tonight, not producing any rain, but we had a few sprinkles today. We can't rule out a few sprinkles overnight tonight, and some scattered showers though possible tomorrow. About a 40 to 50% coverage tomorrow. Better chances as we head throughout the latter part of the day into tomorrow night. 70 from Oklahoma City back down into south central Texas. There's the leading edge of the cold air now beginning to move into New Mexico and extreme far northwestern Texas. Now currently we're running in the 70s. It's going to be a very warm, breezy, humid night across the area. I think enough wind to keep the fog under control. 74 in Houston, 72 in Waco, and some upper 70s down toward Corpus. Highs today right around 80 here locally. The airport hit 82, Lafayette hit 80. We look pretty warm again tomorrow, probably right around 80, maybe some upper 70s in a few spots. It's going to be very windy again tomorrow with winds off the Gulf of Mexico with some scattered showers around. Then those rain chances really start increasing as we head into tomorrow night. And the computer forecast picks that up too. And we'll put this into motion. Notice the showers and thunderstorms developing late tomorrow afternoon, kind of a line of thunderstorms developing. This is 8:15 tomorrow evening. The model indicates some showers and storms from Victoria to Lufkin up to Shreveport. That's the actual cold front. So we'll have about a 60% coverage of showers and thunderstorms overnight tomorrow night into very early Monday morning. Then we'll clear out Monday. It'll be pretty windy and certainly some much cooler weather taking over, as you'll see on the 5-day forecast in just a moment. Lots of snow too, even out west. In fact, Las Vegas reporting a little bit of snow today as that storm system moves toward the plains. Still a little bit of severe weather along that front tonight from southern Kansas up toward Minneapolis. Some pretty heavy storms there and some scattered snows across parts of the Great Lakes where temperatures are running pretty warm in the deep south, 70s, but boy, look at the cold air off to the northwest. It's 21 degrees in Denver. Look at Phoenix, a chilly 58 there. Salt Lake City, 28 degrees. Great Falls, Montana, 7 above 0. So some very cold air working to the south and southeast across the U.S. Marine forecast, still not a good one. It's going to be windy the next several days. Now the winds tonight, tomorrow will be out of the south and southeast over 26 knots, seas up to 5 feet. Lakes area tonight, look for variable clouds. Can't rule out a sprinkle. Overnight lows in the mid-60s for the lakes. And for the triangle, partly to mostly cloudy. Can't rule out a sprinkle overnight. Lows upper 60s to near 70. And tomorrow, for the lakes, about half the lakes area seeing some showers and thunderstorms, especially late in the day and after dark tomorrow night. Highs will be in the upper 70s, gusty southeast winds. And for the triangle, look for scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. About a 40% coverage locally, but that'll jump to 60% tomorrow night, especially as we head toward midnight. Highs tomorrow, upper 70s, close to 80. Now the rain you see there on Monday, that's mainly before daybreak. Overall, Monday is going to be a dry day. Very warm tomorrow, but look at Monday, high of only 64 after a morning low of 56. Tuesday, lots of sun, low near 40, high of 63. Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, 30s for lows. So could see some scattered frost across the area again.
What?
Wednesday morning. Had some scattered frost with the last front, especially just north of I-10. Looks like we'll see a repeat of that Wednesday morning. Mid-30s for lows, close to freezing in the lakes.
Wow. Now 64 sounds comfortable, but it's the rain that makes it very uncomfortable,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, the rain will be over by then, but the 64, the high on Monday and Tuesday, and I feel kind of raw because it's going to be pretty windy out of the north.
So the first, second opportunity for fall here
this
locally.
Week, it's coming.
All right, thanks, Carrie. Confusion, slurred speech, and weakness, symptoms that doctors say could be the results of a serious headache in which you would want to seek medical attention. The story next in our 6 on Health Report. When you get a headache, how do you know when it's just a normal headache or something more serious? There are certain types of headaches you should never ignore. Health Editor-Director Maria Zimbra has tonight's 6 on Health report.
When is it just a headache and when is it something serious? Certain types of headaches you don't want to ignore. A headache with fever and stiff neck could be meningitis, an infection around the brain.
When I would get up, it would almost feel like my neck couldn't support my head. And then it got to the point where I didn't even feel like I could walk downstairs. I had a temperature that was 102, 103. By that point in time, my entire body hurt.
She went to the hospital where a spinal tap showed the life-threatening infection.
I was in the hospital for many days, apparently coded. Basically, they didn't think I was going to make it.
She was treated with powerful antibiotics. That was 20 years ago. She's essentially doing just fine today.
Your neurologic symptoms mirror the degree of the infection. It gets harder to treat, and your chances of having long-term neurologic injury get worse and worse.
A headache with nausea could be harmless.
The most common reason people have headache with nausea is migraine.
But if it's new for you to have nausea with a headache, or if you have confusion, slurred speech, or weakness, you need to get emergency help. It could be bleeding or a stroke. Or if the headache lasts longer than usual, that's concerning.
If you have a headache for a couple weeks, that would be an unusual thing. Then you start thinking about things like, can this be a brain tumor?
The worst headache of your life could be a ruptured aneurysm.
That will be a very abrupt onset of a headache, and people classically will describe it as the worst headache of their life.
The bleeding that results, called a subarachnoid hemorrhage, is very worrisome.
The death rate from a subarachnoid hemorrhage, just from the bleeding, is probably about 45%.
This happened to Judy Painter, but she was distracted by planning a dinner party.
I just thought that it was a stress headache because I had this a piercing headache as I was driving up 279.
At first, she refused to go to the hospital. It was just a headache, she thought. But friends and family convinced her it was an emergency. The results of a spinal tap and other testing showed it truly was.
I got scared when they said, I think you should call your daughter. It did show that there was an aneurysm, there was a bleed, and I was operated on that night.
With any headache, if there's something unusual, how long it's lasting, how bad it is, or if you have any neurological symptoms with it, like confusion, slurred speech, weakness, sleepiness, those are situations you want to get medical attention fast. Just ahead, the Lamar football team was hoping to pick up its first conference win of the year today. Andrew Chernoff has highlights from the Cardinals' regular season home finale coming up next on KFDM Sports.
Now, KFDM Sports in HD with Andrew Chernoff.
The Lamar football team is not good, but they won today. It was a fluke. Nichols State. Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe they beat Nichols State. That's bad for Nichols.
Yeah, they're that bad. That's what it says about them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says.
Okay. Oh my God. I'm just kidding. What?
Award-winning show. Yes, take it.
Oh, I'll get him set up on that.
Now, KFDM Sports in HD with Andrew Chernoff.
The Lamar football team only has a couple of games left in the regular season. The penultimate game was this afternoon against Nichols. Both teams sat at 0-5 in Southland Conference play heading into the game, so someone would pick up their first win today. But Lamar just hoped it could grab a lead at some point because so far in SLC play, Lamar has not led a game. To Provost Humphrey Stadium we go. Lamar hoping that they can send the fans home with a victory in the team's home finale. Dr. Simmons honored with a golden helmet before the game. Ryan Moskowski early on finds Kevin Johnson. That's been a very nice duo all year long. Touchdown Lamar, it's 7-0. The defense then steps up. James Washington, one of the leaders of the defensive corps, boom, right in there. Nichols quarterback goes down for the sack, and you can tell Washington pumped in this one. Nichols State would kick a field goal, though. It was 7-3 Lamar at that point. Nichols would also like this play. Ryan Moskowski's pass picked by Kerry Guidry. Guidry returns it into Lamar territory before he's finally brought down. But Lamar saw that and wanted to do it right back to him. Adrian Guillory with the interception in the end zone. Then it's Ryan Moskowski. He finds Barry Ford for the touchdown, and check out the reaction. He hugs the referee. Very Brett Favre-like. No high five, but a hug. Lamar wins 34-24, and although it's been rough for the team up to this point, head coach Ray Woodard says his Cardinals never gave up.
There's some people outside this program that's quit on this team. And I think it makes them feel better when they give up on this team, for them to say this team's given up. There's nobody that was out there on that field tonight that's given up on this football team, as coaches and players.
Being last at the barrel is a big thing, but not being last at the barrel is a good thing. I mean, I know we got one more game left, but we still got something to prove.
High school football now, 6-man. Orange Community Christian hosting Magnolia Legacy Prep. It's already 54-6 in favor of the OCC Lions, and they are looking for more of the pass, though. Intercepted by the Legacy DB. A great play right there down around the goal line. Lions would get the ball back, and Tyler Dixon would get into the end zone. The score now 62-6, Orange Community Christian. The defense still relentless. Big hit here from R.C. Morris. I actually think both of the running backs' feet went off the ground at that point. Then the ball stripped and recovered by Alex Parrish, and he takes care of the rest. Runs it all the way back for OCC. 70-6 the score after the conversion. But Legacy would want to score again. Check out this great play from their quarterback, number 24. He's scrambling to his left. Now he's going to his right, just like the Cupid shuffle. Throws this one deep in the end zone for number 20, and he catches it. But this one all about the Lions. Orange Community Christian wins this one easily, 78-19. Let's go back to college football. Game of the day, Texas A&M at number 1, Alabama. First quarter, Beaumont native Christian Michael punches it in for the Aggies touchdown, 7-0 A&M. Still the first, Johnny Football, otherwise known as Johnny Manziel, which is his first name, doing his thing. He thought he'd be brought down, but somehow he gets it to Ryan Swope for the touchdown. It's 14-0 Aggies. Fourth quarter, Bama within 5, and they are threatening because of this 54-yard pass from A.J. McCarron to Kenny Bell. Crimson Tide down to the 6-yard line. One last shot for them, and the McCarron pass intercepted by DeShazer Everett. Aggies pull off the massive upset, 29-24. A&M head coach Kevin Sumlin just happy for his players.
You know, these guys believed all week. I told people we were getting better every week. You know, these guys have really battled and gotten better every week, and you're happiest for these seniors who've been through a lot, coaching changes, all kinds of close games, and to go on the road and win against the number 1 team in the country, it couldn't be a bigger deal for those guys.
Someone's pumped. Texas also in action today, hosting Iowa State. First offensive play for UT. They honor the late Darrell Royal by lining up in the wishbone. Quarterback David Ash would get the ball back from Jackson Shipley and throw it down the field to Greg Daniels. 47-yard gain. The late coach would be very proud of that play. First quarter still, Jonathan Gray. He will find pay dirt right here on this 5-yard run. 7-0 Texas. Then it's time to air it out. David Ash finds Mike Davis for a 61-yard touchdown connection. Longhorns end up cruising in this one. They win 33-7. Volleyball now, where the Lamar volleyball season is now over. The Lady Cards fell in 3 sets today in their season finale against Sam Houston State. Lamar will not advance to the Southland Conference tournament. Meanwhile, Sam Houston State clinched a share of the conference regular season title. And finally tonight, your best fishing game forecast peaking at 11:20 a.m. and 11:40 p.m. Of course, though, everyone talking about that A&M game. We were loud in the newsroom during that time.
We were loud in the newsroom, and that was probably the only time ever that we were okay with our news being preempted because of football. Because that last play was just amazing. The interception, that has to be my favorite game of all time.
Everett came out of nowhere. It looked like the Alabama receiver was going to catch it, but just was right there at the right time.
Now I'm a huge Aggies fan. Up next, Santa Claus made a pit stop in Southeast Texas today. That story up next, but first, a final check of your forecast with Carrie. Rain and cool weather in the forecast.
Yeah, some scattered showers tomorrow, about a 40% coverage, especially in the afternoon. Warm tomorrow, but turning colder tomorrow night. Front comes in. Best chance of rain will be overnight tomorrow night into early Monday before daybreak. Clearing on Monday, highs in the 60s, lows near 40 Tuesday morning.
All right, and finally tonight, it was a warm fall day, but that didn't stop Santa Claus from wearing his Santa suit when he made a pit stop in Southeast Texas. Blue Santa and his elves stopped by the Ford Park softball field and visited with the athletes and their families. They raised money for the Blue Santa program. All right, that's it for us here tonight. I love seeing Blue Santa in November right before Thanksgiving. Kind of just gets you in the holiday spirit.
Night.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.